show.
Welcome to episode 165 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. He's Lepore, I'm Bruno. Thank you so much for listening and watching us on YouTube as well. The Toronto Maple Leafs are in the driver's seat, sitting in first place in the Atlantic Division with a 3-point lead over the Tampa Bay Lightning with 4 games to go. They are looking to close this out, lock up the top seed and home ice advantage through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. Who the hell knows if they're going to make it past the first round? But they would have home ice if they did. So we are going to dig into that. Are the Leafs going to close this thing out and finish in first? Matthew Knies with a coming out party. You know, we got to discuss that. Huge hat trick against the Lightning. And then we are going to talk about the Leafs' ideal first round opponent. So I promise you're going to want to stay tuned until the very end, because this is going to be, as always, a jam-packed episode. But before we get into all that, it is time to officially welcome in my partner in crime, Mr. Michael Lepore. How you doing today, man?
Anthony Bruno doing exceptionally well. As always, there's no place I'd rather be than recording a pod with you. Exciting times, Bruno. We have the last few games of the NHL schedule and maybe Bruno's Christmas, other than Christmas, Masters weekend. Who's going to win it, Bruno? Who did Anthony Bruno bet on?
I love that you brought up the Masters. This might be my favorite weekend of the entire year. So I have a bet on like 4 or 5 different guys. I hope Bryson DeChambeau wins because I bet on him to win every single major. And I'm not one of those guys who's just been following DeChambeau since he started a YouTube channel. I've been betting on this guy back to like 2017. He's my guy. I have a bet on him, on Ludwig Oberg. I have a couple long shot bets on Sergio Garcia. I know, laughing.
Sergio.
A couple of these guys have already shot themselves out of this on Thursday, it looks like. But I'll be rooting for Bryson and Ludwig Oberg.
What about Corey Connors? Canadian going to bring it home?
I don't think so.
He's having a good day.
Yeah, he's a beast at this course. He's had some really good results at the Masters, but I don't think he's gonna win. Sorry, Canadian golf fans.
Yeah, well, fucking Justin Rose. All I was reading this week is how much more difficult Augusta is now. Like, they've done all these little intricacies to make the course way harder. Rose is 8 under through 16 holes. Not bad. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, some of these guys, and Justin Rose isn't that old, but he's like, obviously, you know, he's kind of getting up there in age now. It's just crazy. Like, some of these guys that you expect to maybe not be in contention, they just figure it out at Augusta because they've played the course so many times. And Justin Rose is just one of those guys who's been here. It just seems like he's been here for like 20 years. So yeah, he's got a big lead. I hope he chokes it away, though. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Bryson DeChambeau, though, Bruno, I can't get behind it. Kind of, he's obnoxious. That hat, give me a break.
Lepore, go follow his YouTube channel. All right, man.
You
can see the real Bryson DeChambeau, and then you'll actually start liking the guy.
Okay,
let's go, Bryson. All right, let's get into the hockey talk now before people turn this thing off and start yelling at their screen. All right, so as I mentioned off the top of the show, the Leafs with a 3-point lead for first place in the Atlantic Division with 4 games to go. It looked like things were slipping out of their grasp because they had a terrible performance against Florida, and then they almost blew it against Tampa before winning in overtime. And if Tampa had won that game, things would have got very sketchy here over the last 4. So, Lepore, what are your thoughts right now? With 4 games to go, are the Leafs going to close this thing out and finally win a division title?
I think they are. I mean, let's math it. I mean, okay, they're at 100 points, 4 games to go. So if they go 2-2, that puts them at 104. And that means Tampa would need 7 points from their last 4 games. So that's 3-0-1. That's it. Like, I don't know. I think that's pretty well sums up. I think the Leafs have it. Just a reality. Like, when you look at the playoff chances, you're like, oh, they're only 4 points behind. They're only 3 points. No, but you run out of games. And it seems like I think Tampa's run out of games because I think the Leafs can go 2-2 over their next four. Montreal is a big one. I guess Montreal, that could pretty much wrap it up. If they win one more on Saturday, maybe they can get some players rest. But sounds weird to say, Bruno, and we have flip-flopped on this all season. We should have like a flip-flop counter on how many times we thought the Leafs were going to win the division, then how many times we changed our mind. But I guess this is the last time we'll have a go at it. So with 4 games to go, I say that your Toronto Maple Leafs win the regular season Atlantic Division. Raise the banner.
Yeah, I agree, Lepore. And the last time we talked, I'll admit, I said the Leafs were not going to win the division. I have been flip-flopping on this, as you mentioned, basically all season. We've both been flip-flopping on this thing. But mathematically at this point, it's highly unlikely that the Leafs are going to choke this away. Like I said, if they had lost in regulation or lost in overtime or shootout against Tampa, things would have been extremely sketchy. But getting those 2 points against Tampa, I think pretty much solidified this thing. The Leafs basically just don't have to shit themselves these last 4 games. Don't go 0-4. If they can go 2-2, honestly, even 1-3 could get it done.
Yeah.
Maybe that might put them into a little bit of a sketchy situation, but barring a complete like 0-4 disaster, I think it's highly likely at this point that the Leafs are going to close this out and finally win the division.
And who do they have? They have Montreal, Detroit. Is it Carolina?
Carolina, and the last game, and I have it here, and I completely forgot who they're playing.
It's a meaningless one. I think of a team that's not really playing for.
I think it's Buffalo.
I was going to say it might be the Sabres. Yeah.
As my computer freezes on me and I can't even bring it up. So yeah, it's not like it's a daunting schedule.
Yeah, maybe because you're streaming the Masters on another laptop.
Right yeah, I got the Masters on my laptop right here. I'm keeping an eye on this. So hopefully I can keep my head in the game during this podcast as I watch Bryson on the back nine. Hopefully try to get this lead or get closer to this Justin Rose. This Justin Rose lead is ridiculous. 8 under through 17. My God. But anyway, yeah, listen, I mean, it's not a daunting schedule. They should be able to go 2-2 over these next 4 games. And then, as you said, maybe they win the next 2 and they start resting guys if they lock this up a little bit earlier than expected. But in order, they got the Habs on Saturday, at the Hurricanes on Sunday, at the Sabres on Tuesday, and then they close things out at home against Detroit on Thursday, April 17th.
Okay, so we were wrong about being the last game, but yeah, okay. Yeah. Come on, boys.
Okay. So we're on the same page there. It's time for a quick break for a word from Manscaped. Did you know that 1 man every hour, every day is diagnosed with testicular cancer? In fact, it's the most common form of cancer among men ages 15 to 35. April is National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, and Manscaped has partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to bring you some amazing products, including the TCS Ball Hero Bundle, including the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra TCS Special Edition and Special Edition TCS Boxers 2.0, some beautiful purple boxers. So remember to use our exclusive code GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Lepore, these are some amazing products.
Yeah, cancer has affected many of us, even if it's not specifically testicular cancer. So why not show that you care, man? Rock some purple boxer shorts and the new lawnmower and get going at it. Show that, you care about the fight against cancer, and hopefully we can find a cure for these cancers one day. But do your thing. Throw those items in your cart. Like we say every week, GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping.
It's an amazing cause. Manscaped doing a great job with these really sweet looking products. So like I said, use our exclusive code GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. That is code GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. I promise you will not be disappointed. Lepore, I want to talk about Matthew Knies. Name a Leaf with bigger balls than Matthew Knies. This guy is unbelievable. So after the Florida game, he calls out the team saying they're soft as Charmin, okay, because they did not bring the intensity and the physicality against Florida. and then goes out the very next night and backs it up, scoring a hat trick. And not only did he score a hat trick, he scored the OT winner and went between the legs in 3-on-3
Fuck, eh?
overtime, which I couldn't even believe what I was watching when I saw it. That may have gone down as the play of the year for the Leafs. He goes between the legs on a pass. It didn't work out, but then stayed right beside the net, took the pass from Austin Matthews, and buried it. The Leafs have desperately been waiting for a player like this outside of the Big Four. Like, I have been waiting for a player like this to come along, and maybe they had it in Zach Hyman and they let him get away. But my God, I feel like it's just been year after year. Leaf fans have been waiting for someone other than the Big Four guys to step up. And it finally looks like we have something in Matthew Knies, who's one goal away from 30 goals. We saw him last year in the playoffs score the OT winner against Boston in a do or die game in that game 5 against the Bruins in TD Garden. This guy just has massive balls. He's physical. He'll beat the crap out of you if he needs to fight you. We saw that earlier this season. I love everything about this player. Lepore, I can't love Matthew Knies more than I already do. And I feel like he's already done so much and had such a massive impact on this team. And it's only his second year in the league.
You kept mentioning his balls, Bruno. I was waiting for the Manscaped plug. But I was just thinking as you were speaking, who was the last non-core 4 Leaf to score a hat trick?
I have no idea.
Trivia
Do
question.
you know that answer?
I don't. I legit don't. I assume the year of the Matthews tank job. So maybe
My
Kessel.
God,
Kessel?
but Kessel was the first guy that came to mind. That would be so sad.
Think
If
about
it's
that.
if the answer to this question is actually Phil Kessel, that's very sad.
Yeah. But here's my thing with Knies, Bruno, and he is great. He is great. Before everyone starts attacking me with knives, I love this player. Okay.
Oh God, are you about to shit on him?
I'm not going to shit on him. I'm not going to shit on him.
Okay.
So here's this player, and he has those intangibles that a lot of players in the league don't have anymore. Like when I was growing up in the 90s, every team had 2 or 3 Matthew Knies, that big power forward who could score. And now, I mean, they're very valuable. Like we've all seen those stats. What was it? The only players with as many goals and hits are Brady Tkachuk and Tom Wilson. That is significant. That is significant. But I'm having a hard time deciding on what a contract offer should look like because people are looking at pure numbers, and I'm seeing like give him 8 years times 9, give him 8 years times 8.5, whatever, or sign him short term to this. It is tough to judge statistics of a player when they're on a line with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. And that is not for me. That's not me trying to say that, oh, the only reason why he's putting up these numbers is because he's playing with those two. Because even what he's doing is hard to do. And we've tried other guys there and other decent players there, and they haven't been able to do it. But I just wonder if these numbers getting thrown around are a little too high. And like, I don't know, would he even accept 8 million? I mean, we're talking the day after he scored a hat trick. So everyone's just
his stock could not be higher than it is in this moment.
Yeah. Again, the cap, you're always rooting against your players because you don't want stuff like that to happen and they can ask for more money. Thanks, Gary. Makes sense. But I'm careful with Knies because I'll put it this way, Bruno. Can he be the best player? Can he be the second best player on a line? Questionable. On a good line, questionable. So then it's like, well, he doesn't drive offense on his own. So then what's he worth? And you have to talk about the cap. Like I said, the number 8 million. I think with the new numbers in 2 or 3 years, like an average player is going to be like 5 million or something. But I'm a little nervous for it. And maybe that's just the Leaf fan in me who witnesses every time a player discusses a contract, they get the max, the max possible and the number I feared. But I'm having a tough time wrapping my head around what is a fair contract for Knies.
It probably does start with an 8. And you know what? Like you brought up Brady Tkachuk, and I get the comparison like to Tkachuk and to Tom Wilson. Like all these guys, they shoot, they hit, they fight their own battles. I'm just looking at Brady Tkachuk's career, okay? And keep in mind, Brady Tkachuk was the fourth overall pick in the draft back in 2018. Matthew Knies is a second round pick. Second round pick. That's another thing. The Leafs have had like no first round picks, as we know, throughout the entire Matthews and Marner era because they've been going for it year after year. And they finally hit on someone. Like, it is about damn time. And you could say they also hit on Nick Robertson, who's putting up some pretty good goal scoring numbers when you look at like goals per 60 minutes, because, you know, Robertson doesn't get a ton of ice time and he's been putting the puck in the net at a pretty good clip. But Matthew Knies, second round pick, if you compare him to Brady Tkachuk, did you know that Brady Tkachuk did not score 30 goals in a season until his fourth year in the NHL? Now, one of those years was a COVID year. So, you know, he lost out on some games, but he did not score 30 goals until his fourth year in the league. And he was not a point per game player until his fifth year in the league. Like, okay. Matthew Knies is going to score 30 goals in his second year. We've already seen some massive moments. I mentioned the OT winner against the Bruins in Game 5 of the playoffs last year to stave off elimination. Then you have to factor in that the cap is going up, and the way that we think about the value of these guys and the numbers that are attached to them, that also has to change because of the rising cap. I know it's frustrating, and Leaf fans probably don't even want to talk about this right now, but his next contract probably starts at $8 million AAV. Like, am I crazy for saying that? I've been seeing some higher numbers floated around.
Yeah, like the number's not crazy, but with the Tkachuk thing, it goes back to what I said. Brady Tkachuk's never played on a line with Matthews and Marner, and I mean, I get to watch Brady Tkachuk live because I'm in Ottawa, and that would be insane if you put him on a line with those two. Or, you know, Bruno, let's have some fun. The Senators call tomorrow and say, we'll trade you Brady Tkachuk for Matthew Knies.
Oh, in a split second, I'm accepting.
Yeah, exactly.
And let's not get it twisted. I think Brady Tkachuk's a better player than Matthew Knies. I'm not trying to say Knies is better. I'm just comparing the two of them because they're similar archetype. You know, they also Brady Tkachuk, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't he make like 8 and change?
8,
or 8 million flat,
like just under 8 million, or just over 8 million.
That's another reason why I'm comparing the two as well. But I do think that Brady is a better player.
Yeah, I mean, I make that deal in 2 seconds, but again, I'm weary. But because it's funny, because you look at the numbers now and you look at the cap. If someone said 7 million, I'd be like, oh my god, do it. That'd be my reaction. But then you tell me like 8.5 or 9, and I'm like, I'm getting all nervous, but the difference is negligible, especially with the cap going up. I don't know. Hopefully he just commits. Hopefully no more bullshit of like 4-year deals or RFA shit. Hopefully someone just wants some security. Oh my God.
I was just going to say that, Lepore, for the love of God, can the Leafs just not get taken to the woodshed by another top player? Like, please stop getting taken to the woodshed by every good player on the roster.
Yeah. You know, maybe it's the Italian in me, but I picture myself in those in that negotiating room. If I'm a player, my father would be on speakerphone and he'd be screaming like, take the security, like take the 8 years, right? Of course. Italian immigrant, take the 8 years, take the security. These guys need some paisans in the meeting room with them to help the Leafs out.
Oh, yeah, because if he played for the Florida Panthers, you know, this would be like an 8-year deal for done. Like 6 million AAV, and we'd be like, what an absolute joke. But he plays for the Leafs. Everyone's talking about him. This number's probably going to start at 8 with the rising cap. People are going to lose their shit. Yeah, I just hope he doesn't try any shenanigans. Because listen, like his buddy, Austin Matthews, both Arizona boys, he's seeing the shenanigans that Matthews doing, signing these 4-year deals, trying to maximize all his dollars. Is he going to go down a similar route, or is he going to say, screw it, I'm just going to lock things in long term?
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Let's move on to some playoff talk here. So,
yes,
we both think the Leafs are going to win the division, and mathematically, it's likely that they are going to win. So, Lepore, who do you think is the ideal first round opponent? Because if the playoffs started today, it would be Leafs Senators in round 1. Which would be absolutely electric. Oh. Okay, both Lepore and I are old enough to remember those battles in the late 90s, early 2000s in the playoffs, Leafs Senators. Okay, those were just unbelievable. The Leafs always had the Senators' numbers Senators number in the playoffs. So is it the Senators that you want to see? Is it the Habs you want to see in the first round who have been on fire? Is it the Lightning who we just saw the Leafs, play very well against last night? So who is it? Florida maybe? Who is the ideal first round opponent for Toronto?
Yeah, what's weird is you could make an argument for all four teams, and I mean, that's not me to say that it's equal, but Florida's had a lot of injuries. They haven't been playing well. They beat us because of course, but the record over the last I don't know how many games has not been very good. And people would say, "Oh, but like all their players are going to come back." It's like, well, exactly, they're coming back. So what form are they going to be in? So you can make an argument for Florida. Tampa, the Leafs play well against Tampa. The Leafs don't get enough credit. Like we usually beat Tampa, so people could use the whole matchup card. Ottawa, I mean, you're playing a young team in the playoffs for the first time. We've got some more veteran guys now, like some more grit on the blue line, a goalie. It's like, the Leafs should take this one. And then it's Montreal, and you look at the Habs, and you could say, well, this team's kind of completely on house money. So the not to say, the Montreal Canadiens are never just happy to be in the playoffs, but as much as the Montreal Canadiens organization can be, they're happy to be there. But if I got to pick one, I mean, I don't think anyone's picking Florida or Tampa. Like, let's be real, no matter how much you try to galaxy brain it. And I'll just say it right off the bat of just the mathematics of it. To have to beat, if someone said your road is Florida, then Tampa, then whoever, Washington or Carolina, then Colorado, then like, what are the odds that you win all four? Like that,
Zero.
that's just, and that's how I always, you pick a World Cup winner. So often people just pick the best team. They go, I think this team, they're loaded. But then you look at the bracket and you're like, they're going to have to beat like three good teams on the way to get there. And that's just hard. It's math. You're probably going to lose one. So I think it's wrong to pick either of the Florida teams. If I have to decide between Montreal and Toronto, this may shock, or Montreal and Ottawa, this may shock people. I think I would pick Montreal.
Really?
I think I would pick Montreal because of what I said before about how they're a team with house money, no expectations. They're playing really well. They're playing really well. I think the thing with the Sens, I think the Sens can beat you more ways. I think if the Leafs lose to Montreal, it'll be because they shoot themselves in the foot again. And when it comes to Ottawa, like there's Allmark, and like the Sens have some game breakers, and so does Montreal. But like I just think that weird thing with Allmark, Battle of Ontario, and let's face it, a lot of the times when people forget, when we were beating the Senators, a lot of people thought the Sens were a contender, and we were kind of we were fucking shit up for them. Right? Like the one year we didn't play them in 2003, they made the conference finals and they were a goal away. They were pretty well a goal away from winning the Stanley Cup. They lost by 1 goal in game 7, and they had Anaheim coming out of the West. That year Jaguar stood on his head and Babcock got all the credit. But I just think Montreal, I'll take Montreal over Ottawa. And it's not like I'm saying it's a slam dunk. It's one of those two for sure. And I'll go with Montreal, and just being as straightforward as possible. They don't have a Vezina Trophy winner in nets, and that's something. Not that Montembeault can't steal a game or play excellent, because we've seen him do that. We saw him do it against Toronto in Game 1 of the season this year. But it sounds weird to say, but give me the Habs.
You make some really strong logical points, I will admit, but I do disagree with you, and here's why.
Okay.
This is a crazy stat. So since the Four Nations face-off break, since they
like
all
the best
came
team
back, the Habs actually have the best record of any Eastern Conference team,
Okay.
which is insane. And you know who has the second best record?
Ottawa.
It's the Leafs.
Oh, okay. Well,
The Habs and Leafs
lately, yeah.
have the two best records in the Eastern Conference since the Four Nations break. So the Habs are 14-4-4 since coming back from the break. The Leafs are 15-6-2. Now, I will say, like, I think the Habs, if you just look at them on paper, I'm not going to base everything off of how well they've been playing since the Four Nations. I will say they are the worst team in the Atlantic Division. Like, they probably are, slightly worse than Ottawa, but I don't want to see that Habs team in round one. And here's the thing, Lepore, the pressure that would be on the Leafs, and I'm not saying that there wouldn't be pressure on the Leafs playing any of these other teams, but after they blew a 3-1 lead to the Habs in the COVID season, when like Nick Suzuki was still like, he was in like his second year, Cole Caulfield had just made it to the NHL. Like these guys didn't know what the hell was going on, and they came back from 3-1 down. I know they had Carey Price at the time, and then they ended up going all the way to the Cup final. Like, I think we forget sometimes that like Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield have
We're
both
there.
already played in a Stanley Cup final, which is insane. But
That's
man,
insane.
Lepore, if the Leafs lose to the Habs in the first round, like we need to fold the franchise. Like it would be an absolute colossal disaster if this team, as currently constructed, after going through this shit now for the last 8 years, Matthews, Marner, and Nylander all in year 9, if they lose to this Habs team in round one, like I'm done. And this franchise should be done. I would not be able to handle, and I don't think the Leafs organization and Leafs Nation in general would be able to handle losing to this Habs team in round one. So that's the last. I don't want to say it's the last team I want to see. Florida's the last team I want to see because they caused a lot of problems for the Leafs. They've been to back-to-back Cup finals. I love everything about that team. At full health,
Yeah.
they're a big problem for anyone in the East. I don't want to see the Habs. I wouldn't mind playing the Lightning. To me, it's kind of almost a dead heat between like Tampa and Ottawa, but I will say I do prefer Ottawa in round one. This team is going to make the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. None of their core guys have experienced playoff hockey yet. Brady Tkachuk kind of limping in, dealing with an injury. I mean, he's probably going to play because he's a beast and he's going to play through whatever he's dealing with. But that's the team I want to see in round one. You made a good point about Allmark. He could just go crazy and steal a series. But if I had to pick one team, for me, it's clearly the Ottawa Senators that I'd want to play in round one.
You mentioned the embarrassment that it would be to lose to Montreal. You think it's less embarrassment to lose to Ottawa?
It would almost be as embarrassing, but because they've had, and you know what, like
biggest
the
Leafs
Habs-
talk ever, eh? What's the most embarrassing?
both would be very embarrassing. Like I think we can all admit if the Leafs lost to Tampa or Florida in round one, it wouldn't be considered embarrassing. It'd be like, you know what? Both of those teams are really good. Both of those teams are cup contenders. Like it is
Run
what
it back.
is.
Run it back.
Yeah, like it absolutely sucks, but like what are you going to do, right? You ran into another great team. If they lose to the Habs or the Senators in round one, you could say they'd be equally embarrassing and you have to fold the franchise either way. But I would rather, if I had to lose to one, like it would be way worse in my opinion if the Leafs lost to the Habs in round one.
See, maybe I'm biased because I live in Ottawa and what I would have to deal with as a Leafs fan if the Sens beat the Leafs in the playoffs. But I mean, I think I'm becoming more logical as the season's going on because I had that thing in me all year thinking, give me one of the Florida teams. Just give me one of the Florida teams because if they win, they win. Fantastic. Okay. And the way I saw it was I'll put it this way, if the Leafs play either Montreal or Ottawa in the first round and they win, and then in the second round, they play Tampa and Florida and lose, the narrative around the Leafs doesn't change.
No, it's the same thing.
It's exactly the same narrative. And I think maybe we touched on that in another show. But I think the good thing, in a weird way, about playing Montreal or Ottawa is that if they do lose, there is major change coming. And I say that in a good way. Like it's either they win, great, or they lose. And to me, it's like, they're not good enough. Like I'm the most logical Leafs fan you'll find. I'm pretty calm. I was Mr. Run It Back. They're a good team. It's just small margins. They're getting unlucky. They're getting more experience. If they get bounced by a team that hasn't been to the playoffs since 2017 and another team that people had projected at the bottom of the Eastern Conference in the preseason predictions, and even Montreal, like what's their points pace? Like they're not even going to hit 90 points. They're like a 500 hockey team. Actually, I kind of want to check it out.
I believe they're sitting on 87 at the time of recording.
87. But so Montreal's 39, 30, and 9, but they only have 29 regulation wins. So their real record is 29, 30, and 19. They lose more than they win in regulation.
Lepore, they have a minus 17 goal differential.
Yeah, but how much is that from the beginning of the season? Like,
They got off to a terrible start, and like I said, they have the best record in the Eastern Conference since the Four Nations, which is insane to say.
Yeah. So again, pros and cons. Like, again, if you play the Florida teams, bring it on. It is what it is. You have to play them eventually, and the narrative's not going to change if you knock out one of their teams first. The benefit of playing one of the wildcard teams is it's a slap in the face to the organization. And I think you nailed it, Bruno. Leafs Nation wouldn't tolerate that now. Like, Leafs Nation will not tolerate. Again, the last few years, okay, losing to Boston, losing to Florida when they lost to Tampa the first time. It was tough to swallow, but we could swallow it and move on. And you could convince some people to run it back, and we're almost there. But if we have another one of the like Columbus, Montreal losses, no, these guys are older now. Like, they're not babies anymore. So it would be unacceptable. A major change would have to be had.
Yeah, I feel like we've been saying the same thing every year, but I think this is like, no, this is where we draw the line.
Yeah,
this is where we draw the line. There's no more running it back after this. Like, Marner's shit has got to change. And you know what? Maybe it's just like they move, and he's had a phenomenal season. It's like maybe they just move on from Tavares, or maybe they just move on from Marner. But it's something will change. If this team loses in round one to either Ottawa or Montreal, there's no coming back from that. That is like, it's code red. Like, something has to change. All right, before we wrap things up, and this could even be like a 2-second answer. Who do you think is the front runner in both the East and the West?
Front runner right now.
Just pick one team from each conference who you think is the front runner in each conference.
I said Colorado a few weeks ago in the West, and I'll stick to that.
Mm-hmm.
In the East, I think all roads lead through Florida.
Wow.
You're gonna have to a healthy Florida. You're gonna have to beat Florida. So I'll go with the Panthers.
And one of the reasons I said wow is because we are literally on the same page.
People hate us, eh? People hate us.
I know. I'm sorry, because sometimes it's like, oh, you guys have the same, take on something. I don't know. Great minds think alike, I guess, Lepore.
You know what's weird, actually? I was thinking the other day, and speaking of the Western Conference, low-key Edmonton, it's just like zero people are talking about Edmonton. And they've had a weird season.
I'm out on the Oilers.
I know, me too, but I'm not saying I would bet on it at all. I'm not saying I would bet on it, but here you have this team that went all the way to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final last year. There is that mental and emotional hangover of that loss. If they just go nuclear, drop of the puck, no one would be surprised. No one would be surprised. So it might be a time to lay a bet on the Oilers, even maybe winning the West or something.
Yeah, not a bad idea maybe to even take them like in your playoff hockey pools if you feel like people are just going to be off of them this year. I just don't like the way they've been playing. Obviously, they've been dealing with injuries to McDavid and Draisaitl. I agree, though. I think Colorado is the front runner in the West, and I think the Panthers are still the front runner in the East. I think the Metropolitan Division in the East, I don't want to say it's a joke, but I'd be stunned even if Washington gets to the Cup final. I think I'd actually I don't know if I'd be totally stunned, but I'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah, as much as a number one seed could be surprised, you'd be as much as you could be surprised with a number one seed making it. Yeah, I agree with that. I think everyone's on that page, and why we don't believe in Washington, I don't know. Maybe it's because they're kind of new to the party. Because last year they made the playoffs, but they were shit. I don't know. So it's a weird one, and even Carolina, it's like.
Yeah, you know how I feel about Carolina.
Me too. I've said forever, Carolina's low key a choke job team. For how many times? Oh, Carolina, they were the hot pick. Carolina, Brind'Amour, Rod the Bod. Nah, I don't. And they don't have the goaltending.
And for them to go from Natchez to Rantanen to neither of those guys, and then to Logan Stankoven.
But they've been winning, though. They've been winning since they made that deal.
I don't give a shit that they've been winning, because they always win, and then it gets to the playoffs, and they don't have enough top-end talent, and they end up losing to these teams that have more star power. And it's the same thing is going to happen this year.
really quickly, and we'll wrap it up. We're going to run through teams in the East. You tell me if the Leafs are favored in a series against them. Ottawa, Montreal, you would pick
Yes,
Toronto.
the Leafs would be favored.
Tampa.
Coin flip, but if the Leafs have whoever has home ice would be favored.
Okay. And I'm saying you'd pick that team. So you'd pick Toronto.
Yeah,
if they had home ice.
Toronto.
Okay, Florida, you'd pick Florida.
I'd pick Florida.
Okay, Washington.
I think Washington would be favored, but I don't know.
Washington would be favored.
I'd probably pick Toronto because I'm just the Leafs homer.
Okay, Carolina.
Carolina sucks. They don't suck, but you guys know I've always talked about how I don't believe in Carolina. I'd pick the Leafs over Carolina.
Yeah, and then we pick the Leafs over New Jersey. Like no one would say anything there. But yeah. Interesting. But so that being said, it's like you could put the Leafs at number 2. Like it's not a hot take to say the Leafs are the second best team. Well, I mean, they are the second best team in the conference standings wise, but
the one thing that's making me kind of flip on the Leafs, because you know that for the most part, I haven't really believed in them all year if you've been following this podcast. But since the Four Nations, I'm not even talking about their record, but their offense has come alive. And now you have Knies scoring goals. Like they are 3rd in the league in goals per game since the Four Nations, 2nd ranked power play. Whereas their offense was kind of an issue like all season. And listen, they still don't have great 5-on-5 numbers on the season. Their possession numbers aren't very good. But if they can start getting this offense going, the Leafs can make a run and beat anyone. But any final thoughts, Lepore, before we close this thing out?
You know what, low key, I just want to give a shout out to my boy because you mentioned how the Leafs been playing well lately. Over my left shoulder, Morgan Riley. He's been a lot better lately. He took some shit for that goal against Florida. I didn't really see what happened. That behind that dish come off the boards weird and hit him in the foot, or he just misjudged it.
Yeah,
like,
that was
right
just
in front of the
net.
God.
Bad bounce.
Yeah, but did you see that stat on Riley? Where is it? He's something like, last time I checked, he's something like minus 22, like by far the worst on the team. But he's been on the ice for, I think it's like 16 empty netters and 5, and like every shorthanded goal Toronto's allowed, he's been on the ice. It's like unlucky. So like at 5-on-5, he's even. But you just look, it's like, oh, he's minus 22, which is atrocious playing for a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, listen, Morgan Riley's my guy, and he always shows up in the playoffs. I don't expect anything different this year. I know he's struggled a little bit, but I think when the playoffs come, that guy's going to turn it on. I'm not too worried about 44.
You know what, Bruno, so I stand corrected. Like I said, he's been playing better as of late. He's clawed himself up to minus 14.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, so at minus 14, yeah, he's a plus player, 5-on-5. Let's do it, baby.
Morgan Riley. He always shows up when it matters.
Fucking love Mo.
That, League fans.
Fucking
all right.
Mo.
Well, that's going to do it for episode 165 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, the Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast, hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. Like I say, every single episode, if you're a first-time listener or a long-time listener and you really enjoyed the show, it would do wonders if you give us a 5-star rating and review on either Apple or Spotify. And if you're watching us on YouTube, something as simple as hitting the like button, leaving a comment down below, or even subscribing to the channel. It would be amazing for us and this podcast if you can help us out. And then while you're at it, ring the notification bell so you know exactly when the GFP podcast is posting some new content. So like I said, the Leafs have 4 games to go. We'll see if they can close this out and finish first in the division. We will be back with another episode to tee up the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I promise you are not going to want to miss that. But until then, enjoy the home stretch of the NHL season. Go Leafs, go, and we will chat very, very soon.
Thanks, everyone.